The air is thick with dust. The light. Well, the light is failing, and the sound of the world ending is this constant, grinding, metallic scream.
Welcome to the City of Ember.
Exactly. And for this deep dive, we've managed to get our hands on a really unique stack of sources. We're talking internal documents, historical accounts, and even some firsthand citizen reports detailing the collapse of this whole subterranean society.
What we're looking at here, it's really the perfect storm of systemic failure. I mean, Ember is this desperate, meticulously planned society. It was designed to be an ark,
Just temporary refuge.
a temporary refuge built entirely underground. But the problem is, when we're looking at it, the city is operating long, long past its designated safe period. The initial blueprint, it called for survival for at least 200, maybe 220 years.
And we're plunging right into the chaos of year 241. You can almost feel the decay. I mean, everything is old, built of stone. The sources describe these two-story structures.
Shops on the ground level.
Right, shops below, and then these cramped apartments just stacked right on top. But it's the constant state of decline that really defines life here. The infrastructure is, it's literally and figuratively crumbling.
And at the heart of it, the central terror. It's like the city's having a recurring heart attack. It's the blackouts. They're becoming longer and, alarmingly more frequent.
Yeah.
The sources describe them as these terrible moments that just trigger mass panic.
And to put that failure into perspective, the longest blackout they had on record before this was, well, it was relatively brief, wasn't it?
It was. But the new reality, the one that's whispered fearfully through the streets, is the 7-minute outage.
7 minutes of absolute suffocating darkness. That's more than double the length of any prior catastrophic failure. It's just a clear, quantifiable metric that proves the whole system is on the verge of total, irreversible shutdown.
And that's the environment we're analyzing today.
So that's our mission.
That's the mission. We need to excavate this failure. We're going to analyze the initial intentions of the city's builders, track how the failure of human leadership completely derailed what was a perfectly timed escape plan.
And then dissect the social structure that was trying to maintain order through all this.
Exactly. And ultimately, we're going to follow the trail of corruption that drove the final crisis. And we'll see how two children, just two kids, managed to piece together the instructions for egress.
The way out.
Way out.
So let's unpack that initial blueprint. The City of Ember wasn't some, organic settlement that just grew over time. This was a highly specialized, very covert project.
Oh, absolutely. The sources are very clear on the origins. Ember was conceived and constructed by two chief builders. And the idea was a time capsule, a shelter designed to protect a segment of humanity from some vast, unspecified global disaster.
And the timeline was everything.
Everything. They calculated that 200, maybe 220 years would be the minimum amount of time necessary for the surface world to recover enough for people to reemerge. The city's longevity was all based on two things: the materials holding together and the instructions being followed. Precisely.
Okay, let's talk about these instructions. This wasn't just a manual, was it? It was the entire foundation of the escape plan.
It was the key to everything. The builders placed them in this heavy steel box, and this box was engineered with a timed lock, set to open only when the city reached its anticipated lifespan. This was the mechanism of salvation.
The secrecy around it was kind of brutal.
It was absolute.
Yeah.
The first mayor was sworn to complete silence. He didn't even know what the box contained. Only that it held, and this is a quote, information they won't need and must not see until the box opens of its own accord.
So this knowledge of the box and the oath of silence was meant to be passed down religiously, mayor to mayor.
Exactly. It's this fascinating study in, generational trust and planned ignorance. The builders believed that if the citizens knew they were underground or knew when their time was up, they might panic.
Or try to escape too early.
Or despair, right. So they built a culture of historical amnesia by design. They engineered the citizens to believe that Ember was the only light in a dark world, that it had existed since, quote, the beginning of time.
Which brings us to the challenge, understanding the colossal, very human failure that shattered this perfectly synchronized plan.
And that failure rests squarely on the shoulders of the seventh mayor.
Odd
Morthwart, an ancestor of one of our main characters, Lina Mayfleet. Now, Morthwart was serving during a period of increasing decline, and he himself was suffering severely from something called the coughing sickness.
Which is a pretty persistent, debilitating illness. It suggests the air quality, the subterranean air quality was already grating at that point.
This detail is so crucial. It wasn't just simple greed that drove him. It was his existential desperation, It was fueled by the city's overall decline and his own physical suffering. He believed, or, well, he desperately hoped, that the box contained a secret cure.
A hidden cache of medicines or some kind of magic supply the builders left for the leaders.
Exactly. And his solution was just pure, desperate violence. He took a hammer to the steel box, tried to smash it open. The effort was catastrophic. He damaged the structure of the box beyond repair, probably broke the timed mechanism. The entire plan was crippled, not by malice, but by terror.
So when the box was found decades later by the little girl Poppy, it was already open. The original instructions were ripped, fragmented, chewed up.
Podmorthwart's desperate search for a personal cure led directly to the near-total destruction of the collective escape plan. It's an almost perfect metaphor for leadership failing the future for a short-term, selfish need, isn't it?
It really is. And speaking of failure, let's pivot from the political and societal collapse to the physical, the infrastructural breakdown. And we have to start with the heart of the city, the generator.
Oh, the generator. This is the ultimate example of legacy technology just running wild without any documentation.
The description of it is just terrifying.
It's designed to induce fear. The sources call it a gigantic black machine towering 2 stories high right there by the underground river. But it's the sound. The description is just dominated by sound.
An ear-splitting, growling, grinding, screaming noise.
Punctuated by this relentless deep chugga chugga chugga.
It's a sound that permeates the entire city. It's a constant reminder of their absolute dependence.
And it's not just loud, it's physically terrifying.
Oh.
The source notes that the machine vibrates so violently that it looks like it might just explode any second.
Imagine that. Imagine living your entire life beneath a machine that constantly sounds and looks like it's about to tear itself apart. That instability is the rhythm of daily life in Ember. And here's the kicker, the engineering allegory. The workers who tend it, they aren't technicians.
Not at all. They're custodians of a mystery. They openly admit they don't understand how it works, only that they try to keep it from flying apart.
They know one fundamental rule.
One rule: the river makes it go. That's it. This is the danger of relying entirely on systems built by a previous generation when that knowledge transfer fails. Without the original plans, they're just relying on superstition and routine. They can only react. They can never, ever repair.
And that decay is systemic. It's not just the power source. We have the Pipeworks.
Ah, the Pipeworks. This deep, dark, cold labyrinth of tunnels below the city, responsible for water and sewer. And as Doon Harrow, our protagonist, quickly learns, this is not some neatly organized network.
The sheer volume of leaks is just staggering, right?
It's a constant, desperate repair. Just to maintain basic functionality, it confirms that the city is structurally breaking down. It's this whole subterranean world of rushing water, rust, and slippery stone.
And the danger is immediate. It's physical. The Pipeworks contain a swift underground river, a truly powerful force running through those tunnels.
The workers have to be constantly mindful of the current. We know it's strong enough to have cost lives if someone falls in or gets swept away in those endless dark corridors. So the infrastructure isn't just inefficient, it's a killer.
And this physical decay is directly reflected in the material shortages. I find this part fascinating. The official historical text, the Book of the City of Ember, it promised this eternal stability.
It did. It asserted that the builders filled the storerooms at the beginning of time, guaranteeing that they would always have enough.
A myth of perpetual abundance.
And that myth clashes brutally with the reality experienced by people like Lizzie Biscoe, who works in the supply depot. The truth is severe mandatory rationing. This is the first tangible sign for the average citizen that the whole narrative of stability is, well, it's a lie.
The specific examples of scarcity are just heartbreaking. Shopkeepers asking for 20 packages of light bulbs, the most vital commodity in a city built on light.
And they're forced to settle for one package. Even mundane resources, things critical for maintaining a civilization, like paper and pencils.
For record keeping, for education.
They're becoming dangerously scarce. The city is literally running out of the very tools it needs to document its own decline. And this scarcity, far more than the blackouts, is what really drives the widespread unrest.
So, given this state of total physical and resource failure, how does the society even attempt to maintain order and structure?
Well, it all culminates in the single most terrifying, life-defining ritual for every child: Assignment Day.
Assignment Day, held annually in Room 8 of the Ember School. This is the formal mechanism of social stratification, isn't it?
It is. When we observe it in year 241, we see these 12-year-olds gathered, and their futures, which will last for a minimum of 3 years until their evaluation, their whole lives are determined by a random draw.
A scrap of paper pulled from a cloth bag by the mayor, that determines your life. I mean, that philosophy of random assignment, it suggests a kind of desperate attempt at fairness, maybe?
It could be. Preventing family dynasties or even a meritocracy, which maybe the builders feared, could lead to hoarding specialized knowledge.
Yeah.
But what it results in is this massive disparity.
Right, because the desired jobs are directly linked to the city's core needs. Electrician's helper is the most important, obviously, given the constant failure of the light system.
Greenhouse helper is vital. That's the city's fresh food source. And messenger, which our character Lina wanted, is the ultimate connectivity job. You get to traverse the entire city, maintain communication.
And on the other side, the dreaded assignments, the ones that are dangerous or dirty or just socially marginalizing.
Pipeworks labor is at the top of that list. Wet, cold, deep underground, and just physically punishing. Lina describes the thought of it as being buried alive.
And then there are others. Trash sifter, mold scraper. I mean, can you imagine? Your fate is decided in one terrifying moment.
In this ritual, it immediately creates the central dramatic tension through our two key figures, Lina Mayfleet and Doon Harrow. Lina, ambitious, keen to be a messenger, she draws the dreaded Pipeworks laborer.
While Doon, the serious, mechanically minded boy who desperately wants to be an electrician.
He draws the wide-ranging messenger job.
The contrast is just so poignant. Lina is crushed. She sees her assignment as a physical and social burial. And Doon is just furious. He sees his job as trivial running around when the city needs grand, decisive action.
And this is where their individual drives create the opportunity. Doon, driven by this desire for grand achievement, he trades jobs with Lina.
He rationalizes it, right? He figures the Pipeworks is the closest possible tunnel network to the generator.
Exactly. If he wants to save the city, the Pipeworks is the only place he can get close enough to investigate the electrical failure and figure out how to stop the blackouts. He uses the trade to place himself exactly where he believes the solution lies. He's the dedicated pragmatist.
While Lina, in turn, becomes the eyes and ears of the city, which is just as important.
And this individual action, it really highlights the vacuum in leadership. Mayor Cole is the symbol of governance in crisis. He's described as a vast, heavy man with a perpetually gray, drooping face.
And he's far more concerned with maintaining this visible facade of control than with any actual problem solving.
And his attempt at public reassurance is just a spectacular failure of communication and competence. The town meeting fiasco.
Oh, this is a great scene. The city gathers, they're demanding answers, and the mayor tries to address them using a megaphone.
But either because of a technical failure or his own exhaustion or just incompetence. The words are garbled. Unintelligible.
The crowd hears, "Worsh poshuling, no Russian pank."
And the best, most charitable translation the citizens can come up with is, requires great patience, no reason to panic.
But because the mayor offers no substance, no concrete solution to the blackouts or the shortages, the crowd just turns hostile. Instantly.
Anger just boils over. People start shouting, "What solutions? What solutions?" And this quickly devolves into active revolt. Citizens are throwing, pebbles, garbage, crumpled paper, even their own hats at the leadership.
And the guards have to physically hustle the mayor away in disgrace. That incident, right there, it proves that civic trust is completely gone. The government has lost its capacity to govern.
And when you're faced with that kind of profound crisis, where leadership fails and resources dwindle, societies tend to fracture. They break into distinct coping mechanisms. And the sources show Ember citizens breaking down into 3 observable groups.
The first group is what you'd call the believer.
The believers. These are people who are desperately clinging to the original narrative of the builders. They gather in public to sing, sustained by assurance from figures like Captain Fleary, who insists, maybe out of genuine hope, that help is coming from the unseen founders. They're relying on faith to manage their fear.
Then you have the second group, the protesters.
These are citizens who remain engaged, even if it's antagonistically, with the civic process. They're the ones carrying signs demanding, "What solutions, Mayor Cole?" They're trying to force action, to force accountability. They refuse to just retreat into silence.
But the vast majority fall into the third, and I think most dangerous group.
The isolationists. Fear causes this profound civic withdrawal. The notes that Lina carries as a messenger, they reveal people are actively hunkering down. They're refusing to participate in the city's functioning.
Messages like, I won't be into work tomorrow, they just proliferate.
People are choosing the perceived safety of their dark, private homes over the chaotic, frightening public sphere. And this societal paralysis, it only accelerates the overall decline.
And this fear is amplified, isn't it, by the knowledge of the unknown regions?
Oh, yes. The absolute terrifying blackness that surrounds the edge of Ember where the city's light just stops. And it's defined only by these towering trash heaps.
The crucial psychological barrier here is the lack of a movable light source. Because there is, quote, no such thing as a light you could carry, all attempts to explore the unknown regions have ended in just abject failure and psychological ruin.
The flaming sticks they tried, they just burned out too fast. No sustained elimination.
And the anecdote of Merrill, the supply depot clerk, that's the ultimate warning, isn't it?
He ventured out, and he returned gone mad, shouting about rats as big as garbage bins and terrible deep holes. And this just reinforces the official and very convenient narrative that outside the city limits lies only infinite darkness and insanity. It effectively quarantines the citizens by fear. The unknown regions are a physical manifestation of their ignorance and the limits of their world.
Okay, so we have a society just teetering on the edge of collapse. It's ruled by a corrupt, incompetent mayor, and it's suffering from acute resource scarcity. The only hope, the instructions, has been dormant and damaged for decades. So let's trace it's an almost farcical, clumsy rediscovery.
It is. The process starts with Lina's granny. Her increasing forgetfulness and, well, dementia, ironically leads to the discovery. She's frantically searching their apartment for something important that she's lost.
Tearing up the furniture, rummaging through every space.
Total chaos. And it's during this chaotic search that the damaged box, the one smashed by the 7th mayor, is found in the closet. But it's not Lina who finds the paper inside.
It's baby Poppy.
It's baby Poppy. Naturally curious, she finds these fragmented paper scraps. And she does what a baby does. She chews them up, scatters them. She makes it a message full of holes.
Lina finds the scraps strewn about and recognizes that distinct, uniform, machine-like printing, the unmistakable sign of the builders.
It's a document that's been nearly destroyed 3 times, Once by a mayor's hammer, once by time and rot, and then finally by a baby's teeth. And yet, its discovery is dismissed immediately by all the adults.
Right. Lina shows the fragments to Captain Fleury, who sees only torn paper and just dismisses it as a school exercise, tells Lina to throw it away.
And Lizzie Biscoe, Lina's friend, she's equally apathetic. She is just too consumed by the daily pressures of the supply crisis and her relationship with Looper Windley to pay any attention to a few ripped scraps of paper.
The adults, they've been conditioned by decades of failure and scarcity. They've just lost the capacity for hope or the intellectual curiosity required to save themselves.
But Lina sees the possibility of instructions. She knows she needs help, but she needs help from someone who hasn't been beaten down by Ember's reality.
And so she turns to Doon Harrow.
She turns to Doon, recognizing his intense curiosity, his serious nature, and his very pragmatic dedication to solving the city's problems.
And their partnership becomes the engine of salvation. The deciphering process. It's a testament to the power of collaboration and just focused intellectual labor.
It is. And Lina, the runner who knows the city's layout, she makes the first critical deduction. She pieces together the fragments ip and orc
to form the word Pipeworks.
And that's the breakthrough. The instructions aren't about magic or cures. They're technical directions linked directly to the city's infrastructure. She quickly connects Riv to the river and notes the clear word door on another scrap. She realizes they relate to an actual physical location, most likely in Doon's domain.
Oh, that's true. The Rosetta Stone moment comes when Lina consults Clary,
the reliable, knowledgeable greenhouse manager. Clary, who deals with the physical reality of growing food, brings the necessary intellectual rigor to the problem.
And Clary looks at the title word, Egress, and she correctly recognizes that it's a fragmented spelling of the word egress.
Which means, unambiguously, the way out, or the exit. And this confirmation, it transforms these torn scraps from a curiosity into a confirmed, functioning escape plan.
And that confirmation allows them to trace the final crucial clues, stone marked with E, indicating a landmark.
Down riverbank to ledge, providing the terrain.
And the almost bizarrely specific directive, key behind small steel pan. which is a perfect example of the builders ensuring the instructions couldn't be easily found without the full context. They have a map, driven by an ancient plan, deciphered by children, and confirmed by a wise elder.
For while the children are dedicated to finding the city's collective salvation, Doon, through his own investigation of the Pipeworks, he stumbles directly into the source of the city's decay.
Pure political corruption.
Absolutely. Doon, following up on a hunch he has about Tunnel 351, finds a door that's been sealed off from public access. Using his Pipeworks keys, he forces the lock. And what he discovers is not a maintenance tunnel. It's a secret, brightly lit room.
And it's absolutely bursting with stolen supplies.
This room is the mayor's true solution. It is packed floor to ceiling with cans of food, piles of clothes, boxes of manufactured goods, and critically, vast, unbelievable stacks of light bulbs.
Everything the citizens were told was scarce or gone forever was being hoarded here for one man.
And sitting at the center of all this plunder is Mayor Cole himself, described as conked out in a big armchair, just gorging on food.
So you have the mayor of a starving, terrified city living in self-imposed selfish abundance.
And Doon's initial anger at the city's incompetence, it instantly turns into this burning realization of its treachery. The shortage was manufactured, the crisis was being exacerbated by the very people sworn to protect them.
And Lina quickly connects this physical location to her prior knowledge as a messenger. She recalls that suspicious message she delivered on her first day.
Delivery at 8. From Looper.
Right. And this implicates Looper Winley, Lizzie's smooth-talking boyfriend, who works near the storerooms and deals in rare goods.
And Doon, using his Pipeworks knowledge, realizes there's a maintenance hatch near Tunnel 351 that leads directly up to the central storerooms. Looper, leveraging his access, was dropping sacks of stolen goods directly into the mayor's hidden bunker.
He's the accomplice.
He's the accomplice in the systemic theft. The entire picture of institutionalized corruption just clicks into place.
Their immediate ethical response is to report the crime. They rush to the gathering hall and they find assistant guard Barton Snowd.
And Snowd is rightly shocked by their account of the mayor's secret hoard.
But Ember's political machine is just ruthless, isn't it? Before Snowd can take any meaningful action, the children are spotted by the chief guard, Reg Statmark.
Yeah, the governmental response is chillingly swift and effective. It's a clear demonstration of where the true power lies. The city immediately posts warrants for Lina and Doon's arrest.
And they aren't accused of trespassing or theft.
No. They're accused of spreading vicious rumors and telling dangerous lies calculated to cause civic unrest. The government's priority is not justice. It's maintaining the lie of stability and silence.
They instantly become fugitives, targeted by the very guards who should be protecting them.
And Lina is captured during a frantic chase. She gets cornered in a narrow passage when the library is shut down for the nightly singing ritual. She is forcibly dragged to Mayor Cole's office.
Which leads to this chilling confrontation that just sums up the leadership's toxic philosophy.
Yeah. The scene emphasizes the mayor's immense, self-satisfied power. He scolds Lina for her curiosity, which he venomously labels a dangerous quality.
That statement right there, it reveals the core rot of Ember's leadership. They fear questioning, they fear inquiry, they fear the truth more than they fear the darkness.
And he sentences her to the prison room, intending to use her as bait for Doon.
But in a moment of extraordinary dramatic irony, fate intervenes. Just as the mayor reaches for the brass bell to summon the guards to take Lina away.
The city plunges into darkness. It's the final blackout. Not the 7-minute panic. This is the prominent one.
And Lina uses the chaos perfectly. Instead of freezing in terror, she uses the unexpected opportunity. She leaps up, knocking over her chair and the large desk,
causing the china teapot to shatter. A loud, disorienting clamor that masks her desperate scramble. She sprints up the stairs to the roof of the gathering hall, leaving the mayor just yelling helplessly in the sudden absolute black.
And from the roof, she has this panoramic view of Ember's final moments. She witnesses the people gathered for the singing, a final act of collective faith as they begin the Song of Darkness. And as the song reaches its climax, the city lights fail. Permanently.
But then she spots it. A tiny moving point of light, tracing the determined path across the dark streets.
It is Doon.
It's Doon, moving rapidly toward the Pipeworks. He's used one of the candles he wisely packed earlier, the portable light source that everyone in Ember believed was an impossibility.
And that moment is her call to action. She secures little Poppy in a sweater sling on her chest, committing herself not only to escape but to the protection of her family. She runs to join Doon, embracing the Egress as the only possible future.
So Doon, Lina, and Poppy, they meet. They're unified in their purpose near the Pipeworks entrance, and they immediately locate the rock marker, the one carved with the curved E from the instructions.
They descend the ladder, armed with the knowledge and the key.
The key, previously found behind that small steel pan, it works perfectly in the lock of this wide, solid metal door. And the door doesn't swing open, it slides horizontally into a prepared slot in the stone wall, revealing this suffocating earthy darkness beyond.
They step into a small, stuffy room, a chamber left by the builders specifically for this moment, and this is where they make the most immediate practical discovery that just changes the nature of their entire escape.
The necessary equipment.
Right. They find these small metal boxes, and inside those boxes are
Candles and matches. This is the secret to escaping the unknown regions. The ability to create and transport light.
and they immediately discover how to strike a match against the box lid to create fire. This movable light source instantly defeats the psychological barrier that had kept Ember's population imprisoned for 241 years.
And the final deciphering breakthrough follows quickly. They're reviewing the instructions, and they're puzzled by the line, ropes to lower downstairs. It just makes no logical sense in the context of the Pipeworks.
And Doon, using his hands-on knowledge of the underground waterways, he makes the crucial leap.
He correctly deduces that downstairs is actually a fragmented representation of the word downstream. The instructions refer to lowering the boat into the river current.
So they find the vessel, they lower it into the fierce, rushing river, and they begin the most terrifying leg of their journey.
Oh, the journey is chaotic and violent. The river is fierce, the tunnel is absolute blackness, and the boat just pitches and rolls dangerously. The source describes the experience as being swallowed by the darkness, a rapid, uncontrolled descent into the unknown.
After what must have felt like an eternity, the river journey ends at a bank where this massive path begins, and it slopes relentlessly upward.
They climb for what feels like hours, a sheer physical endurance test, until they find the final, undeniable message from the founders. A sign bolted to the wall reading, "Welcome, refugees from Ember. This is the final stage of your journey."
And then, emergence. Stepping out of that tunnel, they're confronted with a vast, infinite world that just defies every single lesson Ember ever taught them.
The sky is immense, not low and dusty. The darkness above is lit by a shining silver circle. The moon. There's moving air wind, and the ground is covered in green plants.
The presence of numerous insects further confirms that life flourishes outside the city walls.
This realization is just so profound. The world survived. Ember was not the entirety of humanity's light, but the full sociological purpose of their lives below is only revealed when Poppy, ever the accidental discoverer.
She finds a mold-blotched, scribbled journal, left by one of the original pioneers.
And the journal entries, they confirm that Ember was indeed an ark. It was commissioned by the best scientists and engineers to save humanity from some unspecified impending disaster. But the crucial detail is who went in. It wasn't just a cross-section of society.
No. The pioneers were 100 people, all aged 60 or older, chosen because they lived a full life and were approaching the end of their years, along with exactly 100 babies.
2 babies assigned to each elderly pair of parents. This was to ensure the maximum generational turnover possible within the confinement period.
But the builders went even further. The pioneers were deliberately chosen as strangers to one another, and they were sworn to absolute secrecy about the world above.
And the reason? To ensure that children, the future citizens of Ember, would grow up with no knowledge of a world outside. They wanted the children to feel no sorrow for what they have lost.
And this is the core structural flaw we identified earlier, isn't it? The secrecy was intended as an act of mercy to shield future generations from the truth of their confinement.
But it created a perfect incubator for ignorance, where the citizens eventually forgot how to operate their own civilization and were vulnerable to the kind of political corruption that Mayor Cole exhibited.
The journal ends with the author, a woman skilled in farming, recording her final doubts. Her doubts about the necessity of the secrecy and the wisdom of raising children in this structured ignorance, just moments before they take motorboats into the underground tunnel.
The ultimate realization for Doon and Lina is this stark, beautiful truth. The surface world, though changed, survived. They are free, but they're not done. They look down into this immense chasm, the hole in the earth that leads hundreds of feet back down to the dark, singing city, and they realize the scope of their responsibility.
So if we synthesize Ember's entire journey, What we have is this perfect, tragic arc. A benevolent plan, the arc designed for survival, but it's undone. Not by external forces, but by the generational failure to uphold the wisdom of the founders and the political corruption that just thrives in historical darkness.
The irony is so powerful. The builders chose ignorance as a protective measure. They believed it would prevent panic and despair. Instead, that cultural amnesia stripped the population of the knowledge required to understand and maintain their own technology. It turned the city's heart, the generator, into a ticking time bomb.
And the absence of historical truth, it allowed the vacuum of leadership to be filled by selfish avarice. When people believe there is nothing outside and no hope for the future, theft and hoarding like Mayor Cole's secret bunker.
They become rational individual solutions, even if they doom the collective.
And Ember was ultimately saved not by the elderly or the corrupt leadership, but by the relentless curiosity and the collaborative intellectual labor of two 12-year-olds who, unlike the adults, hadn't been fully broken by the city's institutional despair.
They still believe that difficult problems could have solutions.
So now they're standing under a sky of unknown size. They're free, but they're burdened by the knowledge of 6,000 trapped people below them. They know they can't row the boat back upstream. The current is far, far too powerful. The instructions, which detail the path to egress, are in their hands.
Their duty is clear. It's immediate. They must find an ingenious way to send that message back down. They have to use the one thing they have in abundance in this new world, gravity, and the physical reality of the chasm they just climbed out of, which leads right back to the river they traveled on.
The solution is really elegant and practical. They have the remaining paper, and they have the ability to write out clear, simple directions for the egress. The key is finding a weight heavy enough to carry the message.
So they can attach the written instructions to a heavy rock, the last useful piece of matter from the surface world, and drop it. Drop it down the immense hole in the earth.
And that rock, carrying the message of salvation, will fall hundreds of feet, splash into that powerful underground river, and hopefully it'll wash up on the banks of Ember.
Finally delivering the light of truth to the darkness, allowing the rest of the refugees to follow their path out of the dying city. It's a spectacular final act of faith and communication over confinement.